Right, the Marriage Act has changed, and there were many pastors who were very nervous about the change. And I want to run through the main changes and then show you very practically. I know that not everyone here is a marriage celibate, but you might be interested anyway in how it has now changed the way things are going to have to happen. What I'm going to be talking about affects just ministers of religion. So these are pastors. So for those of us that have the right to marry, you'll need to know this. This is probably the first thing, to allow civil celebrants to solemnise marriage. So there's a difference, and we need to understand the difference between a civil celebrant and a minister of religion. A civil celebrant's allowed to charge fee for service, we're not, and they don't have the same obligations or the same exemptions that we do. So it says that, to understand it, it's now the union of two people to the exclusion of all others voluntarily entered into for life. So that definition has gone from being man and woman to being two people. The second thing to realise is that it allows ministers of religion to solemnise marriage, but it still respects, and I was pleased to see this, respects doctrines, tenets and beliefs of their religion, the views of their religious community or their own religious beliefs, and C, to allow equal access to marriage while protecting religious freedom in relation to marriage. Essentially what that means is, if we did have a same-sex couple come to us and ask to be married, we have every right to say no, because it violates our conscience, and we recognise, or we want people to recognise, that we have that right to refuse. Now, just in case that was in doubt, the Amended Marriage Act now says in section 47 specifically, the refusal conforms to the doctrines, tenets or beliefs of the religion of the minister's religious body or religious organisation. A2A actually has a statement in the minister's manual that marriage is between a man and a woman. So that means we can actually say, sorry, I cannot marry you. If you were presented with two people of the same gender who wanted to marry, you can actually say you can't. In fact, we would insist you don't. The second part of that is the refusal is necessary to avoid injury to religious susceptibilities of adherents of that religion. So for me, it's reasonably clear we do not have to, and this was one of our fears, that we would be forced to, and the Act is now pretty clear in providing that we don't have to. Now, this was also interesting for me. I was interested in this one. What if they want to hold a same-sex marriage wedding reception in this venue? Can you say no legally without being taken to the tribunal? Yes, you can, actually. This is what it says. A body established for religious purposes may refuse to make a facility available to provide goods or services for the purposes of the solemnisation of a marriage, or for the purposes reasonably incidental to the solemnisation of a marriage. And I would say a reception is pretty incidental to the solemnisation of a marriage. And then down at section 5 or part 5 of section 47, for the purposes of this subsection, which we've just read, a purpose is reasonably incidental to the solemnisation of a marriage if it is intrinsically or directly associated with the solemnisation of the marriage. And of course, a wedding reception certainly fits that. Well, these are the forms, and I was interested to see the forms as they came out. I've got there, that form, if you've ever had to fill one of these out as an official marriage celebrant, a religious marriage celebrant, you have to fill this form out twice. And so this is the official certificate of marriage. This one, I'm going to just point out to you that I've made that up, that June later this year, and it's at St Andrew's Church, because I figured good name for a church. And Then I've put there, and I know some people are putting A2A limited, which you can do, but can I just tell you, for a wedding, that just seems inappropriate. And I have been doing that in every wedding I've done as an A2A pastor, and I've not had one pushback from the Department of Justice. I've had them push back on the fact that the last one I did, I refused to use the new paperwork and I used the old paperwork, and they told me I was naughty for doing that, but not on this. And I actually think when I do a wedding, I like to get all this out of the way, then I bring the photographer in and let them mock it back up. And I think if they take a photo of that, and you can see that according to the rights of the A2A Alliance in Australia, it just looks a bit more swish than A2A limited. Just sounds a bit cold to me. That's just by the way, that's just a little detail. All right, what doesn't change? A few years ago, there's been a number of subtle changes that have happened over the years. One is that the marriage register we all have in a church. Do you have one here, Louisa? Do you have a burgundy maroon coloured thing? All right, that's ornamental. Has no official standing at all. It used to back in the late 1800s. That was it, but not anymore. Also, the wedding, I'll show you this, the ornamental wedding certificate will also change, but this is the register that we use, the ornamental certificate stays the same. What's different is this. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that on the screen, is you've now got 3 options to select. And basically it's party 1 or party 2. And that's different, and that's what they told me off for, because I didn't use that. And rather than anyone being identified as a bride or a bridegroom or groom, it's now this. So that bit has changed. The ornamental register, the ornamental certificate is exactly the same. Now, on the other side of this, there's a couple other things that are different. This one, you've got to use that now. You have to. This also is called the Notice of Intended Marriage. And I think you can see that one a bit more clearly, where it says party 1, party 2. So not bride, not groom, party 1, party 2. And you can then, under that, you can put male, female or other under that, which is a bit bizarre, but you can. And then this is also different. This is the declaration of no legal impediment to marriage, which I usually get them to sign either at the wedding rehearsal the night before to say that we can proceed with the wedding. I know some people actually sign it after they've actually conducted the wedding, which seems like an odd time to sign that we can actually proceed with the wedding. So no legal impediment to the marriage, and again, there's no reference to bride or groom on this. And incidentally, there's no reference to party 1 or party 2. It's just 2 people have got to fill it out. So that's different. And as I found out, they actually take a very dim view of you if you don't use that. They want that used.